Great. Uh, we started the session as a quantification and costing. Uh, we all know that is an important part to the quantity surveys, and we have done what is preliminaries. We learn it and how to do on what is the purpose of the preliminaries and what item is stand for what reasons, and we already learn about that. But we didn't learn how to price the preliminaries. That we will come after the quantification part is finished. Then we have a costing part. That time we will see. Then also we see preambles. What is the purpose of the preambles? Then what is the importance and how the preambles is play a role in pricing and costing things. Also we learn. So the first two classes is about preliminary and preambles. If anybody needs some more information on that, you can have it. So the third one, what the third class was a kind of a discussion. Then it's about the PC rate. Then we had due to the importance of this scope of work of quantity surveys, and we little bit talk about the scope of work. So in the scope of work, I explain about the pre-contract scope of work of contractor QS and the consultant QS. The quantity surveys work in a consultant firm. So what is his pre-contract duties under the quantity surveying role, and the consultant and the contractors, both we have seen it. Also, there is another parties is there, the client, because the quantity surveyor not only work with the contractor and consultant, also they work with the client, also they work with the PMC, project management team. So now there will be a question to some of you, what project management is doing. So project management involvement is not necessarily required for a limited projects. For example, if you are going to build a small residential unit or villa or small school, that doesn't require a project manager. So mainly the project manager role, project manager mean not the project manager, is not individual, it's a company, it's a firm. Project management, they're there to manage the project. Mostly the project manager's role will be managing the time. So they work along with the time and sequence of the activities, and because they support the client, not the project, to exceed the duration, which the predefined duration shouldn't exceed. That is what they work along with the time. So mostly they focus on the time. Let me tell you, that is not only they are focusing on the time, it's based on their appointment. If the client want the project manager to monitor their time only, they will monitor only time. Some client, they want to monitor by the project manager their project is time and quality. So they will look into the quality control procedures and they will look into the time control procedure. Some client, they want cost also, including the quality and time. So all these three people will be there. So when the cost things is there, when the cost thing is added to the project management team, then the quantity surveys will play the role there. So what cost will, in terms of cost, what project manager will do? Cost controlling process. So meantime, you can ask, there can be a question from your mind, why the cost, there is a consultant also in the project. So what is his role? He's not doing the cost controlling? Yes. Based on the contract, what consultant will do, that kind of the project, they may take out the cost controlling portion from the consultant scope of work. So the consultant QS doesn't require to do the costing part with it, that kind of the project where the project manager is there. The project manager will do that. All of a sudden, if you go back to the histories in 2008, in the context of Dubai construction industry, most of the projects are managed by the project managers, and there is a consultant who did the design. There is a client who is on top of all the people, and there is a contractor. Then, after 2008, the hit heart of the crisis in construction industries in 2008. In 2008 to 10, somewhere in that period, most of the client decided we will take over project manager from the project. We don't need a project manager. Let the consultant to do these duties of the project manager. Yes, consultant also can do the duties of the project manager, but if the client is more intensive in terms of quality, in terms of cost, in terms of time, they will put another people, 2 or 3 members from a company called project management. They will do that. What kind of the project is required? If the project is very large, let's say thousands of villas and community development, like for example, there is a villas and mosque and malls and government office and all these things is together. Those kind of the places, consultant will lose the control. He cannot do all this process because consultant duty is there. He should have to inspect the work. He should approve the materials. He should approve the shop drawings. Then he should go for an inspection. So many duties packed with the consultant. So to give a relief to the consultant, so client will put a team called project manager to handle their work. So what I'm trying to say at the end, project manager also having a QS. So let's say that pre-contract, as I mentioned, now we are looking at the pre-contract. I said that there is a PMC and there is a contractor and there is an engineer, which is we call it consultant, and the client. So under all these team, there will be a QS. So now we already looked into that, what contractor QS and engineer QS is doing during the pre-contract stage. And the client also, they have a QS. And so also PMC also having a QS. My concern is client QS and PMC QS during the pre-contract, they were doing the same task. For example, during the pre-contract, what consultant QS is doing is preparing the cost planning, isn't it? You all know that cost planning is one important part of for a QS. We will see another subject. Cost planning is a different subject. You take the 2-3 classes. So this cost planning is kind of a budget that they are preparing during the design stages. As we see earlier, that concept design, schematic design, detailed design. During these phases, they have to submit the cost report also to the client. The engineer QS, consultant QS, will prepare the cost report during this period. Each stages submit the cost report to the client. So if there is a client QS, no project manager, client QS will look into the consultant cost report, and he will see where the consultant made a wrong, where the consultant made the wrong prices. For example, per square meter of plaster, that normally, let's say 35 dirham. But consultant know what is the technicality of that plaster. For example, if this plaster should be watertight plaster, so they have to make those with some admixture. But that consultant don't know about that. Consultant QS don't know about that. He just put 35. So when client QS or the PMC QS look into that prices, so they feel that something wrong. Then they will make a comment to the consultant QS. Consultant QS, Mr. Consultant QS, you made a cost plan, and that cost plan, that is the prices which you assume that wrong because of this reason. And so this is the duty of one of the duty of client or the PMC QS, that the major duty is reviewing the cost plan. Okay, so whenever they submit the cost or the budget of the project, client QS or PMC QS should have to review and confirm to the client management that this price what he submit for the concept design is correct. We can go ahead with the next level of design stage. So they will move, let's say the concept design cost is approved, then they will move to the schematic design development stage. Then once the schematic design is finished by the designer, the architect, then the QS will make the cost, again submit to the client will review it. If it is okay, then they will move to the detailed design stage. So this is the cost controlling process during the pre-contract. That is a vast areas. I'm just telling the role here. Okay. So one duty is cost planning. Of cost planning, reviewing the cost planning is the duty of PMC and client QS. Another major duty, sometimes this is done by the procurement guys, but procurement in the sense, we have a misconception, I mean, misunderstanding on the procurement. So guys, you should, if you are a QS, you should have thorough ideas about this procurement. Procurement is a common term. It's not only we use in construction, not only we use in any specific places. Procurement is a common term. It's used everywhere, even in your home. Okay, in your home also, if you want to buy something, if you want to buy a fridge, okay, if you want to buy a fridge, you, without knowing, you are applying some certain procurement system there. So you decided, okay, how I want to buy this fridge. Okay, at least I need to go to six showroom, go there and check their prices, and I need to see what is the specification of it. Then I need to take their quotation, coming back and review it. Then what terms I want to buy it. For example, I want to pay full cash, or I want to go for a EMI system. So what is the warranties and what is the guarantees? When you think about all this, this context is a procurement, kind of procurement. So somebody can ask a question that, okay, I have a procurement in my office. What these people are doing, these people just, when we take out the quantities to them, we give the quantities. For example, reinforcement steel, what they do, they go to the market, they get 4 5 quotation, and they choose the lowest quotation, and they comply with our terms and conditions in the original contract. Then they award the contract. They issue the LOA or LPO to this company. This company supply the material. This is the only procurement, you know that. That is called material procurement or subcontractor procurement. Maybe they issue a LPO or LOA, this procurement department, to a block work company. You know that the block work is done by small company. You supply the block and they come and they bring 2 3 masons, and they build the block. So that is also, when you're awarding the LPO or LOA to these companies, that is also kind of a procurement. These all are procurement called material procurement and labor procurement and subcontract procurement, all these things. And that is another procurement in the bigger picture. That is a project procurement, which means our entire the project. Let's say that construction of 5-star hotel building. So entire the project procurement is called also is a procurement. How this project is going to procure, what is the terms can be used, how will tender, how the contractor will appoint it, and all these kind of things. What is advantage of this, what is advantage, disadvantage, and all these things, seeing it all this view also is called as a project procurement. That procurement part also somehow the QS duties. So that who will do it? The QS who work in a project management company, or the QS work with the client company. they should have to do that. I am working as a consultant, but I deal with the layman the client. The client doesn't have anybody, doesn't have any technical people with him. No, he's an alone. He's a one guy. He's in his entire entity. He's the one is handling. So he will come and ask me, okay, suggest me the best procurement to this project. So as a QS is not normal QS who have diploma or degree and without having a chartered all of these things. They of course they are not much familiar. You should have to familiar that there is a subject called procurement and tendering that we will also see that later. That subject who thoroughly know that, then who have and I mean who have been RICS subject, you know that how to do this procurement. And if you do study the RICS level 3 in advisory level context, then you will know that how to advise. So if you know that, you have to advise to the client, okay, Mr. Client, for you, this is the best procurement route. Okay. So first you have to understand from a client perspective, the project is his concern is the time, or his concern is the quality, or his concern is the money. Then whether he need to have his own designer or he need to hire a designer separately. So whether he need to do the design and construction parallelly, this all you need to understand from a client. Then you have to prepare a procurement report. Is quantity survey's duty. Procurement report will tell the client, okay, this is, you will go for this project, design and build, or design and construction. Okay. Okay. Design and build, design and the build will go parallelly, because once small portion of the design is completed, then a contractor will start the work on the site. Then you issue the design drawing time to time, and he will carry on the work. Design and construction is like a traditional procurement, that the design is finished, then the contractor will start after completing the design. So you have to advise to the client what is the advantage of this, disadvantage of this, what is the cost impact, what is the time impact, and how the quality can be controlled. This all you have to advise in the procurement report. So this is also one major duty of client or the PMC quantity survey who is dealing it. So once you complete the procurement, then you day by day you are checking the cost. Day by day you are checking the cost report of the consultant submitted. Then you will receive a pre tender estimate. So it's like before tender, what the consultant will do, they prepare a estimate of the project. That is called pre-tender. Just before the tender, you need to prepare estimate. That estimate almost accurate that client expectations. Almost should be similar to the tender receiver, mean tender return. Once you tender it out this project, you will receive a certain X value. No, the client is expecting that this pre-tender estimate and the tender estimate what we receive from contractors, his expectation is at least plus minus 5%. So that is a pre-tender estimate. So consultant will submit a pre-tender estimate. Client or PMC QS should have to review the pre-tender estimate. So once the pre-tender estimate is satisfied, it is within a budget of the project, they will give a green signal to float the tender. Client will give the green signal to float the tender. So once gave a signal, then the consultant QS should have to prepare the contract documents. Oh, sorry, the tender documents. Tender documents, as we all know, that it consists like a volume basis. Like we say, volume 1 is a condition of contract. Volume 2, let's say, is specification. Volume 3 is a drawings. For example, volume 4 is a bill of quantities, and volume 5 is health and safety concern, something like that. So these volumes, along with the others support in the architectural team and the specification team, quantity surveys will compile it, because most of the works here the quantity survey is doing. Bill of quantities, is a huge work. So he is preparing quantity surveys in the consultant team. He is preparing, and the volume one is a condition of contract. This is also is a contracts manager who is who is preparing the contract, but he is also quantity surveys. Under the quantity surveys only, all these contracts managers and contract administrators and cost control and procurement, all this comes under the quantity surveys. No, unfortunately, that just a quantity only is there. Because of that, people get misunderstand what contracts manager and quantity surveys. But the quantity surveys are the contracts managers and cost controller and contract administrators and all these. So he will prepare these old documents and this volume one, including the contract documents. Then he will submit to the client and PMC people. Then they will have a review. So the client and PMC have their duty is to review the things. They will review the condition of contract along with their legal departments, because each client have a legal department, their own legal departments. So these conditions, they have to comply with their legals in terms of payment terms and variation, notice periods. So many things is there in the volume one, isn't it? In the condition of contract. So they will go back and they will review with their legal department. That is as a separate part. And the BOQ also, they will review it. They will cross-check the quantities. What mentioned for concrete, what mentioned for floor finishes and ceiling finishes, and all this stuff, they will have a mechanism to check. They have some tools to check, and they will cross-check. Sometimes, I mean, the consultant QS, they are not trying to find out the mistake of the contractors QS, consultant QS, but that 10 is less, 10 is more, and sometimes it happens because when the time is tight with the consultant QS, he might have to work on rush and made a mistake. So these all are cross-checked by the client and BMC QS. Then they will go ahead to issue the tender. So once they issue the tender, that tender can be issued. There are different ways. That tender can be issued by the consultant office, or consultant will client procurement department. So also this is the procurement. You get to know that the client, some of the government office, they said it is a procurement department. That procurement department is handle everything like issuing a tender, receiving a tender, preparing the contract documents, responding to the tender clarification. These all are some of the government in UAE, they say the contracts and procurement departments. So these all handled by procurement also. This also terms procurement. Don't confuse with all this terminology. But uh, how I learn it actually, procurement is uh, is is not the term that only used to who buy and sell the materials. No, procurement is a common term. It's deal with anything related
Right.
to construction. Sorry. So once the client PMQS is given a signal to release the tender, or they will release from their procurement. So the tender is in the market. Contractors will price it. So when the contractor is pricing, as I said earlier, they will have a clarification. So they will send a clarification then to the consultant or the client directly, client procurement department. So they will distribute it and respond it. Also, there is a QS duties involving there. And also, once the tender is done, similarly, that engineer QS or the consultant QS who prepare a tender evaluation report and this tender, post tender negotiation, all this process done along with the client and PMC QS with the consultant. So client QS, in summary, you can say that whatever the consultant QS is prepared is reviewed and approved by the client or PMC QS. In addition to that, they do some procurement advice and cash flow forecasting, because client QS is mostly deal with the cash flow. Whenever you deal with the consultant, they always call and ask, give me that cash flow, give me this cash flow, when we can forecast, because they deal with the client. No, they sometimes some client they bring the money from the bank or some financial investment institution. So they need to give a forecast to the institution, or to give a forecast to the bank. So they need to tell the bank, I need, let's say now we are in July. They should tell, okay, I need in August this much of money, and I need in September this much of money, because they are not only dealing with the contractors, because contractors, we know that there is a cash flow for the contractors. But client QS duty, first you need to see the construction cost plus consultancy fees, plus maybe there is a land cost, maybe there is a legal fees, maybe there is another authority fees, maybe there is a consultant like a lift consultant, road consultant, fire consultant. So these, the consultant, client QS and PMC QS DT is to focus all these things. But engineer QS duty is what? Is only focus mainly construction cost and his cost, consultant cost. But client QS, he should consider all the cost of the project, because for a construction of a building, that not only the construction cost is there. There are several costs: construction cost, consultancy fees, third party fees, authority fees, specialist consultancy fees, legal fees. Sometimes is the interest. If you are taking a loan, you have to consider for the interest. So their duty is away from your duty. This, that one of the parties only the construction cost, but they are doing something else also. So if you are a client, you are reviewing the things of the consultant, plus you are doing something about the cost of the project and procurement things, stuff like that. So now we see the duty of the consultant, client, contractors in the pre-contract stage. As we see that last time also, that in the pre-contract also is coming this tendering phase, that estimator and the quantity survey is taking the quantities, and estimator is pricing the project, and finally they are submitting the tender, and they are coming for a post tender meetings, and they are negotiating, and they are finally agreeing the price and awarding the contract. So once the contract is awarded, uh, everybody is involved here. First of all, on the top, as I said, there is a client also need a QS, okay, and PMC, if there is a PMC, if PMC is appointed by the client, also there will be a PMC QS will be there, and there is an engineer QS is there. Okay, I will tell you that what are their role, and there is a contractors QS is there. Okay, in the contractor also there is a QS, and the subcontractor also there is a QS. Okay, if the supplier is bigger supplier, and supplier also will have a QS. Okay, and finally procurement team. If the major procurement, also they will have a QS. Because why they are having a QS? Procurement team is this, the material procurement team. Why they have a QS? Sometimes they need to quantify the work, first of all, because, you know, I will give an example. Let's say reinforcement for the footing, or let's say reinforcement for the pile cap. So reinforcement, now the contractor, once the material is approved, first what they will do in the process, they will submit the shop drawing. Shop drawing means with the tender drawing, they will do some modification and detail bar schedule and all these things. They will submit the shop drawing to the engineer. Once the engineer is approved the shop drawing, okay, then they will give it to the contractor back, and it's an approved. So once the shop drawing is approved, then they will submit the material submittal, it's called. For example, reinforcement bar, what they will do, they will collect 2-3 companies with their, along with their profile and their material specification and data sheet and everything. They will submit to the consultant. So consultant will choose one company. Okay, so collecting all this pre-qualification, specification, data sheet and all comes from the procurement, material procurement of the contractor, material procurement team of the contractor. So they will give it to the site team. Site team will submit to the consultant. Consultant will review it, and they will choose one supplier. Then they will return it to the contractor. Contractor will then send back to their procurement team. They will say, okay, consultant is selected, this X company for supply of the materials. So then you have to prepare a LPO or LOA or the contract to the supplier to supply the material. So first, what you have to do, first you need to understand the quantity of the work. You need to understand how many T bar, okay, how many R, what is the diameters, and what is the quantities. So as a quantity surveyor, you have to quantify the work first. Then you have to prepare a LOA or LPO based on the original contract, because in your original contract, mean your main contract, your condition of a contract with the client say that they will pay for you after 40 days when you submit the invoice. Okay, 40 days. Then you cannot promise your supplier, I will give you in 20 days, because you will have a cash flow problem. So the procurement team who deal with these people, the suppliers and subcontractors, they are not much familiar in a contract. They are familiar, yes, but some of them, they might be accountants, or they might be finance people, they might be admin people who worked on the procurement. They don't know all these technicality things or the contractual things. So if a Q was working under the procurement department, you have to quantify the work first. Then you have to read the condition of contract in the main contract. Then you have to prepare a contract to the supplier in terms of payment terms, in terms of the project duration, in terms of the quality. You have to put a specification. This is the specification as per the original contract. This is you have to supply. So this is also is kind of a mini contract manager who is dealing with this. He's quantifying it, he's preparing the contract, he's preparing the LOAs and condition terms and all. So that is a duty of that procurement under the procurement department if a QS is working. So if a supplier having a quantity surveys, yes, there are possibilities having a supplier quantity surveys. For example, it's like aluminum cladding supplier. I met the supplier who supply external facade, porcelain facade or external cladding. They have their own QS who come with us and work with the quantities and all. So now here we see the procurement guy, no? Procurement QS will issue the LOA to the supplier who supply the steel or who supply the cladding. That QS will receive the documents. Then he will check the quantities. He will verify the quantity, first of all. So once he satisfied with the quantities, then he need to find out that what are the wastage. Then he will add the wastage on top of the existing quantities. Then he will adjust it on the rate. He will not adjust the quantities, he will adjust it on the rate, and he will give a unit price based on his supply terms. Then he need to match their procurement QS send some terms and condition, no? Some payment terms and duration and all. He need to satisfy himself whether we can agree on these terms or not. So normal person cannot read and understand it. As a contractual person, or the people who know how to read the contract and respond to them, only can understand those issues. So if a supplier's QS is there, this is also what he's doing. He received the quotation, he received the proposal from this procurement team. He will review the quantities. He will go ahead with the issuing the quotation, and he will advise his store, or he will advise his factories to supply the materials to this X company. So this is what supplier QS and the procurement QS is working. Now, time to time, supplier QS need to raise an invoice, because they will have a terms and condition, no? Like 1 month, they will deliver the material. Then after delivering the material, 30 days they will pay. And so once the material is delivered and after 30 days, they will raise the invoice. This is supplier QS duty according to his contract. He need to raise the invoice to the QS of the contract. Okay, he can raise it to the subcontractors or main contractors. It's depend on the contractual channel how it is. but they will raise the invoice. They have to raise the invoice. Then they have to, raising invoices, somebody can ask it is an accountant duty. No, that quantities and contractual terms and all these as a quantity surveyor's duty. You have to quantify it. You have to check what is the terms and condition here. So it is your duty to check. Accountants, yes. If there is no quantity problems and nothing to do with the quantities issues, yes, as an accountant can raise the invoice. But when it is dealing with a huge quantity, so there should be a supplier's QS as well. Subcontractors, also subcontractors, similarly that here, if this procurement guy is issuing the LOA for MEP work, so that the subcontractors, MEP, as a MEP subcontractors, he need to receive the documents, he need to go through the quantities along with his MEP design team, then he has to price the BOQ of issued by this procurement department. He need to submit the tender. It's like a mini tender package. They will submit to the procurement will review and they will accept it. Once it's like a main contract package. Once it is approved, and they will start the project, and during the project start, then they have to raise the invoice, and there will be a variation according to the contract. There might be a claims, and there will be advance payment submissions and retention submissions, final account, taking over. So many things is there. Similarly, the main contractor's duties, subcontractor also will do, because subcontractor client is a main contractor. Main contractor client is the main client of the project. So that is the subcontractors. So let me come to the main contract. Once the project is awarded, okay, it can be applied to the main contractor and subcontractors. You have to see it in these two are in the same view. Once the project is awarded, there will be a commercial manager in the project. The commercial manager, under him there will be a few QSs, might be a contracts manager also, might be a cost controller also under the commercial manager. Okay, there will be a commercial manager. What commercial manager will get the document from the estimation department who estimate this project. They will tell Mr. Commercial Manager, we price this project for the X and our overhead and profit is Y. So we have to get X plus Y at the end. Okay. So the commercial manager's duty is to reduce the X, reduce the cost, and increase the profit is his duty. Which is make the project is profitable. So he need to use his team, quantity surveys, cost controllers, contracts team to bring and control, reduce the cost and increase the profit and bring as the project is a profitability. This is the commercial manager duty. So if the contractors QS, first in the hierarchy, there will be a commercial manager. Okay, if there is no commercial manager in the company is very small, there will be senior QS. So this senior QS is almost equal to the commercial manager. He will do, if it is one QS, he will do multitask. His duty is to control the cost first and involve in the payment, certification and all. Involving in the payment also is kind of a cost control, because if the contractor, your subcontractor is asking for more payment, for example, a cutoff date of end of July, your plan, as per your original plan to your company, the cash outflow to the subcontractors should be 1 million end of July. Okay. But you receive a payment from subcontractors which reach to 1.25. Okay. So here there is a 250,000 is exceed from your cash flow forecast. So that you cannot pay to the subcontractors this 250 because you don't have a money. You didn't get the money from the client. You get only 1 million. This is your plan of outflow in end of July. But your subcontractor submitted 250. So as a QS, as a cost controller, as a commercial manager, you have to go back to the payment and check again. Maybe there is a overclaim from the subcontractors. Maybe there is a material which he didn't deliver. He is asking for a claim. Maybe there is a material he delivered which is defect and which is not inspected. So there should be so many issues. So you have to go back and check. It is also kind of a cost control. Okay. It is not entirely a cost control. It is one part of the cost control. Okay. Then there will be a contracts manager. Okay. Then he is much familiar guy who knows about the contract. So he know each and every corner of the main contract, what you have it with your client. Also, he know the contract between you and your subcontractors. So he will tell the subcontractors according to your contract, okay, you cannot claim more than 1 million. For example, I'm telling more than 1 million uh, in the interim payment. Okay, because sometime the appendix to tender will specify that a subcontractor cannot claim more than 1 million in the interim payment. So the contract guy who is familiar with the contract, he can come and comment also. So these all are the QoS duties. This I'm telling this one in terms of payment. Okay. The commercial manager, under the commercial manager, there is a senior QoSs who work with the quantities and stuff like that. There is a cost controller, there is a contracts manager, and all these people have to put their hand on this. Okay. So the quantity surveys duty or the commercial manager and his team duty is to receive the budget from the estimation department and control the project within a predefined budget. If the project is lead to exceed the budget, in your company in loss. So if your company in loss, they will put the knife on your neck. The commercial manager, you have to understand why QoS is such a responsible job. Is sometime it bring the company to the profitability, sometime it bring the company to the loss. So it is the QoSs and the commercial managers and contracts and commercial cost control guys having huge responsibility for his bosses. You guys have to control the cost. Whoever in the controlling the cost phase, you guys have to control the cost. For example, a very famous question we used to ask from the people. Uh, you There is a cost control tool called cost value reconciliation that you will study in the commercial management later. We call it CVR. This CVR is fully operated by the quantity surveys who is handling the project under the contractors. Who are the contractors QS working in a project? They are dealing with this cost value reconciliation. What does it mean, cost value reconciliation? First of all, I have a question to the audience here. I need to understand what is the difference between cost and value. Anybody can speak me out about the difference between cost and value. Anyone know? If nobody know, tell me I don't know because I need to hear from somebody. If somebody cannot speak, even you can type in the chat box and tell me. I need to understand. Even I don't know what is cost and value. What is the difference between cost and value? If you know what is cost and value, then only you will know what is cost value reconciliation. If you are a contractor's QS and you work in a company, multinational company or company from Europe or somehow moderated companies, they deal with this because they deal with so many tools for cost controlling process. One is, sorry, cost value reconciliation. Other one is they call it earn value management. Earn value management. Uh, Somebody use a cash flow to forecast. That is also one kind of a cost controlling tools. We will look into that in detail later when it's come to commercial management. But uh, I think somebody might know that what is cost and value. You guys are working at least 1 year, 2 year in the industry. You must have to know what is cost and value. Otherwise, I would be surprised. If somebody said, Asik and Nazar, you are not familiar about this cost and value? Come in chat box. Nazar, cost is actual cost to produce the scope of work. Value is expected value. Okay, cost is actual cost. That is right. Uh, we can say in a very simple term. Also, you might be right, I guess. Also, we have a simple term. Okay. For example, uh, value. Uh, Value is the thing. It doesn't have any monetary things. For example, you have BMW. Let's say is manufactured in Germany. Okay, and the manufacturer of BMW, his cost is what? Whatever the amount he spent to produce this car. Okay, let's say that to spend, he buy the metal, he buy the motor, he buy the tires and all these from the market. That is his cost. That much he spent to manufacture the car to keep in the factory. Then he bring it to the outside and he sell it, or he keep it in the warehouse, sorry, the showroom. That showroom, he will not put the same price what he spent to manufacture this car. What he will do, he will put his overhead, he will put his profit, and he will put his brand name. Okay, it is a BMW. So BMW have a certain value in the market. Okay, so he will add all these things on top of this manufacturing cost or the cost. He will sell it. That is called value. So that value is depend on the guy or the people who sell it. For example, you tender it out a project. Okay, you know that to build a 200 millimeter SCAD, sorry, 200 millimeter thickness block wall, you know the cost of this block wall, you did somehow this estimation 20 dirham. Okay, 20 dirham per square meter. Then you know the price and you tender it out. This is the cost only. Yeah? The 20 dirham is a cost only. You know the cost, but you don't know the value of this. Then the project is taken by the company X, okay, and the company Y. Let's say two company has taken the project. The company X is usually from UK, okay. The company Y, let's say from another Asian country, okay. So company X from Europe country, consider like this Europe country, company Y from Asian country, okay. Then after you receive the tender, you notice that that Asian company put 40 dirham per square meter for a block work, and the European company they put 60 dirham per square meter. Okay. Now you know the cost of this block work is 20 dirham. It will not change because all of them have the same material. All of you have, they will go to the, they will go and buy the material as per your vendor list. So one supplier. All the labors are in UAE, is mostly from Asia. So the productivity is the same. The wastage is the same. Cement price, water, aggregate, everything is same. Okay. The cost is the same for everybody. But on top of it, they put value based on their company. Let's say, I mean, I'm not strictly saying that European company price might be high or Asian company might be low. It can be vice versa, but it is depend on the company. The company value also added into the price. They have their own overhead. The company to company is a different profit. Company to company have a different brand name, different value. So all together is added is a different value. So when you see the price after adding overhead and profit and their brand or whatever it is, that is called is a value. That is called is a value. The cost is a cost. Cost all might be the same for all the people. So that is the difference between cost and value. Now, as a cost controller, you do a cost value reconciliation. Okay, we will take out this reconciliation. Reconciliation is in an English term. We know that what it is. Just do some analysis, do some reverse and forward calculation. That is kind of a reconciliation. So now what we do here, as we see the example here, the cost is here 20 dirham. Okay, let's say now we talk about company X. So their value is 60. So what is here? Their profit is here. Overhead and profit and value is 40. Overhead and profit and brand is 40. So now, first of all, the QS duty and the project manager duty, they should control the cost should be 20, should not be 22. Okay. How they will control it? They have to go back to the program and the plan and the forecast. For example, uh, two labors in 5 hours, you plan for 5 square meter block wall to build. Okay. That as a QS, as a project manager, you should have to be careful that they follow these norms. If they slightly deviate from these norms, okay, if they are doing very fast, it's no problem for you. There will be a profit for you because you are reducing the cost. You're reducing your cost because this mason is working very fast. But if they are delaying, they are putting more wastages, that 20 dirham will increase to 22. So as a QS, as a project manager, as a QS, based on the cost value reconciliation, you have to make an alarm to the project manager, Mr. Project Manager, that instead of 20, now you are going 22 dirhams. Okay, then your 2 dirhams is taken from your 48. Then our overhead and profit is here only 38 while we forecasted 40. So we are losing our profit. So this project is not profitable. So as a QS, cost controller, commercial manager, this is your duty that, for example, 10 square meter or 100 square meter block wall, we allocated this number of block, this number of main hours, that should have to be done according to the plan. If they are deviating the plan, that is something wrong. That is how they do a cost value reconciliation. So this is the major duty of the main contractor or subcontractors QSS is kind of this is one of the duties called as another duty. As I said earlier, looking in the payment also is cost controlling. Also looking into this kind of things also is a cost controlling. Okay, so now we see the payment they do a cost controlling and they do a variation. For example, if there is a deviation between if there is a deviation in the contract and there will be change management procedures will come, client will instructed the changes and you will do a changes, then you submit a variation according to the contract. That is also duty of the QS. And there is a claims, there is a claim specialist will be there under the contractors. If there is any claims, they will prepare a claims according to the contract and also submit. That is also part of the quantity survey's duty. And also the project contractual issues like the bond, insurance, like a tracking. Once the project is started, the commercial manager is to have a track sheet, like a table, that when we submit this advance payment bond, when it is expired and what is the validity, they should have a log sheet and they have to maintain it that. So once it is going to expire, so they have to inform to the finance or procurement or the accounts that to renew this. So this also is part of the quantity service duties to keep a hand on this kind of the issues. So that is kind of a contractual issue that can be done by the contracts managers or quantity surveys or the commercial managers. Also, when the project is moving forward and there will be a issues, for example, subcontractors payments, you have to do it while you're doing the main contractors the payment, and you have to do the subcontractors payment. Also, you will have a, if you are a main contractor, you will have a subcontractors variations, you will have a subcontractors clients, and so many stuffs you have to look into that. Then when the project is at the end, then you have to do a once the taking over certificate is issued. Don't get confused with all these terms, and you will get to know that. But I'm just telling it, it's like kind of a closing out documents you have to handle it. For example, statement at completion and releasing retention and fully advanced payment recovery. Then you have to ask for a confirmation from the client. Then you have to submit to the bank to get you a premium. So many things that quantity service duties who is working under the contractors and subcontractors. Then after the defect liability period, 1 year or whatever it is mentioned in your contract, then you have to do the final account. And the final account, at the end of the final account, you have to submit the discharge letter, and you have to claim your final things and including your final retention. So these all are the contractors quantity service duties in the post contract. The engineer, what you do, whatever you submit, he will review it in terms of payment, cash flow. Uh, One of the duties of the commercial manager on the contractor side, they have to prepare a cash flow. So this cash flow is forecast. Cash flow forecast, they have to submit to the engineer along with the is reporting, whatever it is reporting, daily report or monthly report or whatever it is report. You need to submit this cash flow to the engineer. Engineer will review it. If he is satisfied, he will send the same to the client. He will tell the client, okay, my contractor is expecting in August this much of money, in September this much of money, in October this much of money. Accordingly, the client will arrange the finance from the bank or from individual to pay to the contractors. So this is how the life cycle of the project is goes. So I hope that we get to know some duties and responsibilities of the contractors quantity surveys and the engineer quantity surveys. It's absolutely whatever you prepare it and submit, and they will review it, and they will give approval or something like that. It's, you know, that if you go to the contract engineer's duties, what do you call this, certification, determination, and analysis, no, issuing notices, notification, so many duties there in the FIDIC engineer's duties. So you just have a time, have a look while you're reading it, then you will understand. So now I'm trying to end this scope of work of quantity surveys working in different parties. I think if anybody having any question before we moving into the next session, if somebody having a question, you can raise it in these duties and responsibilities. Don't feel shy. We all your brothers. Even I don't know who you all, and you don't know who I am. So ask me a question. I mean, I'm not going to punish, or I'm not going to uh, uh, treat you in a different way. So if anybody have a question, you guys can ask me. There is a chat. Rate value. Okay, there is here. Let's close this. Then change share it. Sorry guys. I have some Okay. Okay. The question is here, rates and value. Uh, Value, the term value is an important thing. Uh, you guys will understand when you come further on the industries, because when I was doing MBA, I read it many things in terms of value. I mean, we learn many things about the value. I mean, I will tell you an example. Uh, Value addition. Value addition is you add something, you add something into the existing thing. That is called value addition. It is same like a value. So if you ask me a question, rate and value is the same? Not exactly. It's not the same. Value is something, as I mentioned, that it is depend on a different firm. For example, a company from having high management and very systematic things and systematic way, they will have their own value. No, they have their own value. We will say that, see the value of that company. So that they will add into their cost, and that will have a different value. That together is a value. But if a company is doing a small things, uh, then they don't have much overhead and profit. They don't have much expenditures because their system is very weak, but they will have a low value. No? So they will, when they add to the cost, their value will be different. So value is seen as a full pack. Okay. So that uh, is not similar to the rate. Rate is a common terms. Anything you can say is a rate. No. For example, cost plus you add the value. Also, we can say rate. Also, you can say to the consultant, it's my cost, and it can be, I can consider is my rate also. I don't need overhead and profit or whatever it is. This can be my rate. So rate is kind of it came from the ratio. You know that you rate the things. For example, what do you call this? Rating. You give a rating to something now. So whether it can be a cost or whether it can be value or whatever it is, whatever the number is you put, you multiply, you're going to multiply something else. So that can be a rate. So value is something different. I mean, what I started here, for example, in our country, we are manufacturing tea. No, okay. Then what we do, we sometime uh, we manufacture a raw tea. Then some of our tea is go as a raw in a bag, okay, to, for example, it's coming to a, let's say, our tea is coming in a big bag, uh, on a bag. What the UAE having, they having a small packing company. What they do, they will fill it in a small bag and they will sell it in the market. What they do here, to our tea bag, they are adding some value here. They're doing some value addition. Okay. So they're giving some grading to that tea and they are selling it in a different price. For example, they buy it here for 40, they do some value addition here and they sell it for 65. Okay. So why we cannot do the same value addition in our country? We also can do a value addition. Now, why I brought this example, not to say that our country is not doing good in this term. I want to say that this is called value addition. They bring a raw tea and they add some value to the tea and they sell it. For example, they bring a raw rubber and they add some value to the rubber. They make a comb or they make a toy, and all these all are value addition to the rubber, and they sell it. So these are all are value addition. Similarly, the cost of the block, construction of a cost of a block wall is a cost, and when it's go to the different company, they add some value to that. Okay, they add some value. That value is not only their overhead and profit. In terms of quality, that depend on the company, the quality of the block work also is something different. So they are adding some quality, they are adding some value, and they are selling to the client. So that is a selling price. That is the value. Rate is whatever you multiply it with something, whatever, for example, when sugar 1 kilo, the rate is this much. That is a different thing. That is not a value addition. But we don't need to mix that value addition and this here. Hope this but I can clear that. I mean,
Yeah, I understand.
okay. So, very important thing for a QS to understand the value and costa, because it will come with you till you end your business. Okay, now what we did in previous, we were looking into the standard method of measurement. Okay, we see this method of measurement and the measurement works. So I'm not going to explain you that how to do the measurement for earthwork and structural stuff like that. Uh, but I will tell you that how to read from the standard method of measurement. So before that, uh, now what we have seen here. Let me stop share and I'll bring the BOQ first. Text BOQ sample. Okay, guys. I think now you all can see the formula. So in for me, if the bill of quantities are prepared according to POMI, so you will see BOQ with this kind of section. Section B, section C, section D, section E, section F, something like that. I would like to tell you that first, first of all, if you are a QS, you work in any contractors or consultant or client, whoever it is, you must by heart this. Don't tell me that difficult to by heart. It will come you as you go along. It will be, you should have to by heart first. First of all, section A is a general requirement, which we see it as a preliminaries, which we already learn about that. So when it's come to section B, it's all comes in a sequence in a construction. For example, when you can by heart it in this way. When you want to build a residential villa, okay, what you are doing it first. So what you doing first, you come to the site, you do a fencing first, okay. You do a fencing, you must have to have your site office. Then you need to have a temporary and water and electricity for your work. So that is a thing you're doing first. So that is a thing is measured under the general requirement. It's a temporary work you are doing it. So that is measured under the preliminaries. So that is a first sequence of the construction activities. So once you done the fencing and site office, temporary water, electricity, you transport the labor to the site. Then what you do next? Then what you have to do? You should have to check your site whether we can put this foundation, whether we have to put pile foundation or raft foundation or footing foundation, whatever it is. Then we have to do, you have to do a site investigation. Okay, site explore, site exploration. You have to you have to do the site exploration. You have to understand the site. So understand the site. What is the activities there? You have to do the soil investigation. Okay, that is one thing. What you do with the soil investigation? That under the site exploration, I'm talking B1, under the section B, site work, the section called B1. First, you have to do the soil investigation. You have to do the soil. You have to bore the soil and understand the section of the existing soil conditions. How many meter you have a rock, how many meter you have a soil, and how many meter you have a hard rock. And when you encounter the water, these all will come under the soil investigation. That is one thing. Then what you do? Uh, then what you do? Uh, After the soil investigation or during the soil investigation, you do a topographic survey. That is also important and also is as per the UAE regulatory requirements. You have to identify the levels of the existing ground levels. So that is called topographic. That you know that it's give a grid line. For example, you might have to see that there will be a grid lines like this, and this grid lines they will have a point here. No, they will give the levels of this point. For example, from the main sea level, what is this level? For example, 1 meter above the sea level, minus 2 meters below the sea level, something like that. It is a topographic survey. So that is second thing. So one is soil investigation and the topographic. And the third one is kind of a ground investigation or like a scanning of the ground. They call it geophysical or geotechnical or geophysical, I think, which is giving some information on the underground existing services or underground existing objects. If there is a ground, or if there is a object like concrete block or existing cables or existing pipes or whatever it is in the underground, it will show in the graph that there is some object below 2 meters of the ground, something like that. So that is a underground survey. Then is a trial holes. It's like trial holes and boreholes. This boreholes is kind of you're doing. It's like sometimes you do for soil investigation. Sometimes you do for water. What do you call this? Dewatering. And the trial hole is what? It's like you have to do some trial excavation. We call it trial excavation to understand. For example, if you found some cables under the ground investigation, then you cannot do a machine excavation. You have to do a manual excavation by trial hole. So you have to do excavate one place, expected areas. You didn't find it, then you'll do another trial hole, something like that. So this trial holes and bore holes, then all you get, then you get the report and everything. You started to do the work, then you do the site preparation. Okay, site preparation is like removal of vegetation and removal of if there is rocks and stones and something like that, you have to prepare the site. And if there is, this is a demolition, if there is any existing building or any existing structure, then you have to do the demolition works. That is also is part of the site work. Then shoring, as you all know that, and it is construction technology, guys. uh, I have to ask you all what type of shoring is available in the construction industries and why we go for that. Can anybody tell that shoring is available shoring system and what is the purpose of shoring and why we are going for a shoring system? Anybody know that? Because it is very important question in anywhere you go. When you go to an interview, it is one of the question why we need a shoring and what is the purpose of shoring. Anybody know that? What are the type of shoring is available? Then why we go for that kind of shoring? Let me tell you a small brief about shoring. As you all know that there are two types of shoring. Yeah, there are two types of shoring. One is a permanent shoring. Other one is a temporary shoring. So what temporary shoring is? Once you finish the work, first of all, the shoring is, just to prevent the collapse of the soil from while your excavation. Okay. So the temporary shoring is you put a temporary plank, a temporary wooden plank, or the temporary sheet piles. Then after the construction of the foundation here, then you backfill it, then you remove the shoring because you put the neck column here on the foundation, everything is done, or you make a retaining wall here, then you backfill it and you remove the shoring. That is the temporary shoring. Permanent shoring is permanently stay there. So the permanent shoring uh, is there are many types. One is they call it piling, shoring pile. Okay, there is two different piles is there. One male and female piles. They do like this. So male pile will have reinforcement. Female pile doesn't have reinforcement. So one of them will have reinforcement here. Other one is just a concrete, mass concrete. Then other one will have reinforcement here. So this is the shoring called as a secant pile. Okay, they call it as a secant pile. Is the concrete piles. Another one is a diaphragm wall. So diaphragm wall is also is a concrete wall. It's like a panel. They will bring it as a panel. They will cast as a panel, panel by panel. So if there is a damage here, they will just replace it here. If there is like a huge leakage is coming after the shoring, they will replace it here. So these two are mainly using for the permanent shoring. Why the permanent shoring is there? So many reasons. Because where you cannot do, for example, first of all, the congested areas where the buildings are, for example, in Abu Dhabi city, you want to build a building without a permanent shoring, you cannot build it because all of the plots are very near. Okay, so you cannot do open excavation. For example, your width is here 5 meter or let's say 60 meter. Exactly, you get 65 meter, only 5 meter extra. So you don't have a space. You cannot do open excavation or you cannot do a temporary shoring and later you cannot remove that. So that purpose or they are using the permanent shoring. Okay, once they make a retaining wall inside, the shoring is no use of it. And also if the soil pressure is huge, they cannot control with the temporary shoring. Okay, if the water flow is huge and along with the soil, it will push the shoring, temporary shoring. They will also go for a permanent shoring. So permanent shoring, there is two types. One is secant pile, and they are mostly they are using it. Secant pile, another one is a diaphragm wall. Diaphragm wall also they decided it is an expensive one. Also they decided is based on the constructability and also about the pressure on the soil. So if they go for more deeper, the basement is let's say 4-5 basement. Mostly they will go for a diaphragm wall. Most of the thickness of the shoring will be 800 or let's say 500 to 1 meter. The width thickness of the shoring. It's a huge area. If you come to a huge construction, you will understand about this. So that is a shoring and underpinning. Normally we don't use it that. It is like they are pinning in the ground and they are anchoring the shoring or the wall something like that. Earthworks is like filling and some stuff like that. And excavation, dredging is that it's like levelings and compacting and all these things. So filling It's like a backfilling. Uh, uh, and there is a piling here. You see it here. Uh, so many types of files. Here you can come up to here. There are so many types of files. Everything you have to measure it. Everything you need to understand it, because let's see that. Let's see that filing. I want to move. Yes, yeah. Let's see that what we have seen here about the piling construction plan. That is A, B, site preparation, demolition, shoring. See here what we learn about the shoring now. So, and for example, I'm just I will just show you that important things how to measure it. We will not see the one we are much used in the construction. We'll see about it. Shoring. This is B6 under the site work. B is the site work, and this is section under 6. They said shoring, incidental to demolish and alteration, together with clearing away and making good, all work damage shall be understood is included. Okay. So shoring is they are talking about, this is even it can be, this is mostly they say demolition and alteration, and together with the cleaning away and making good. This is kind of a temporary shoring thing. So what they are telling, casting the shoring, okay, and removing the shoring and clearing the site and making good and including all the damages shall include in the unit rate of the shoring. For example, if the shoring unit rate is given as a meter, uh, for example, in the BOQ, they said 100-meter shoring. Okay. So the shoring rate should have to include all these things: demolition, alteration, mean any changes. As I said earlier, you remember that if there is a one panel is damaged, then in the diaphragm wall, they have to replace it. They have to alter it. So demolition cost of that and alteration cost, together with cleaning away and making good all the site and the damages, is understood as included. So all these things in the shoring should have to include with the shoring price. Also, this should have to include. Shoring shall be given as an item, stating the location, clearing away, and making good of the work shall be. Okay. Now they given the unit of the shoring. In the BOQ, if you put a shoring item, they are telling should given as an item. As I saw here is I said in the meter, no? But normally I used to put as a meter, because to have better cost controlling in future, because I told the contractors in the drawing I mentioned 100-meter. Later I said to add another 10-meter. So if I put an item here, for me very difficult to evaluate this variation. Understood? So what I said, that is what we go for a meter. If you add another 10-meter, then we know that how much the price of meter, then multiply by 10-meter is easy to close the variation. If you put item, contractor will tell, no, no, my assumption of quantity is 100-meter. Sometimes you will say my assumption is 150-meter. So it will lead to a dispute. So better to have it, because we have a right to change the principle, no? Because now that is what we learned in the pricing preambles. Whatever you wish to change, you can modify it in the pricing preambles. So even though I'm following the standard here, I can modify it in the pricing preambles that my shoring in this bill of quantities is measured in meter, not in item. So I didn't follow here as a meter item. I followed and modified in the pricing preambles to be a meter. So that is the case. Also, they said particulars shall be given. Particulars shall be given, and where the design of the shoring is not at the discretion of the contractors. Okay, that they are telling that the design of the shoring, sometimes it is goes with the contractor design, or sometimes it goes with the consultant design. Most of the UAE project shoring is designed by the contractors, because this is the municipality requirement. As a main consultant, yes, he can design it, but these shoring things are, there is a specialist companies in UAE. The Ministry of Economy, when they issuing a license, they issue the license in a different categories. For example, they build a building contractors and infrastructure contractors, MEP contractors, interior design contractors, piling contractors, uh, what do you call fire and safety contractors, something like that. Their license is categorized. So designer have the right to do the design, but whenever it is that the documents is submitted to the authority, that goes through a specialist only. That specialist only have the right to go and discuss with the municipality about the design. Because guys, you need to understand that the regulation here, they are very keen about the safety. Okay, uh, uh, the UAE especially, I don't know other countries. Now I'm here in UAE for last 14 years. Uh, I, I I was there in Sri Lanka also. We did some building in Sri Lanka, but the safety regulation in this country, it's very keen. They are very focusing on the safety of the people. So whatever it is designed, they have a parameter. You make a design, for example, consultant make a design, okay, then they have to submit that design to the municipality, and municipality will run through their parameters. So municipality will tell, okay, design submitted by the consultant, you are missing one reinforcement bar here. Your thickness of this pile should be 500, not 400. They are giving a comments. So then they are doing a modification. So what municipality have done it, they said somebody is doing piling, somebody is doing shoring, they have to deal with us directly, submit, because they have a different portal with the authorities. They will submit through the specialist only. So that specialist will submit. They will do their own design because they have their own designers. This specialist company, like piling specialist, shoring specialist company, they have their own designers. So they make a design and they submit to the authorities. Authorities will approve it and will then they will come back to the consultant. They said, okay, we get the authority approval, let's go ahead. So consultant also will have a look on it, but consultant doesn't have the responsibility or doesn't have the liability on that particular shoring design. Consultant have the liability uh, on their building design itself. If there is a damage in the piles, that consultant will not take responsibilities. It is under the filing company because filing company is submitting their professional indemnities. Okay, so anybody knows about that professional indemnities is for what reason it is required? Professional indemnities. I think I put these terms and I get somebody get confused. I can hear from anyone knows about this professional indemnities, why it is used. And we will have a different chapter about the contract administration. Under that, we will look into these insurance things. Professional indemnity also is kind of insurance. That is for what? Anybody knows? Even you don't know, tell me don't know. Anybody know, tell me know what it is. You can put it in the chat box. Anyone? If somebody say don't know or know only, we can move further. We can explain it because I need to hear from the one who knows. Okay. Professional indemnity, the name itself uh, it has a meaning. First of all, is indemnify is kind of is in English. Indemnify mean uh, I take a responsibility to someone's damage, not someone damage, my damage. For example, I owe to him. This is what my client, my owner, is paying to me for this construction of this piling work. I will indemnify him against the damage. If there is a damage, my insurance will cover the damage. So that is indemnify. Indemnify means I will protect him. I will protect him from any damage. So there is a term added in front of it, professional. So this professional means the people who are specialists. We all are professional because we are QS professional, and the designers who design the work, they are designers professional. The laborers who work in the site, they are not professional. Okay, so that professional indemnity is for my professional work, for my design profession, or for my QS profession. If there is a damage, I will indemnify my other party. That is how that professional indemnity is came. So this professional indemnity means whoever is doing a design, not only design, whoever is providing a services. Okay, services, they have to indemnify his other party. So other party, who is that? Other party between you is the client. Your other party is the client, and you have a contractor. He's not you. You don't need to indemnify the contractors against your damage. If there is a damage, if there is a problem in your professional services, okay, that I will protect my client from this insurance. That is the professional indemnity. It's not only the design. I'm telling one problem is the design. Okay, there is a design damage and the pile is collapsed. Then the indemnity insurance, professional indemnity insurance, will protect the client to reconstruct that pile. That insurance money will give. Also, you are a QS, you make an estimate for 1 million. Once it is the tender out, it came 5 million. So 4 million difference. You cannot do value engineering, you cannot do anything. Then the client is lost. He allocated 1 million plus contingency is 10%, 1,100,000. Then you don't have money. Then this is because of your mistake. You made a mistake in your design. Sorry, you made a mistake in your cost estimate. So that is your professional negligence. You didn't do your professional due diligence. So that is your mistake. Then your professional indemnity insurance will pay back that money back to the client to cover that client from the loss. So this is not only the design, whatever the services you deliver, you agree a services with the client, then there is a defect in your services, there is a diligence in your service, there is a defect and there is a delay in the deliverables and you didn't deliver properly your client as you agreed, then your professional indemnity will come forward and protect your client from the damage. That is a professional indemnity insurance. So as a QS, you will hear whenever you are in a high position, you comes to the high position, you will hear day by day this term. You have to keep in mind in a way. I explain you in a way that I kept in my mind. Okay. So you guys also have find the way to keep in your mind and by heart all these things. Okay. Then the shoring, and again they said shoring which is required by the specification to be left in a position shall be described. So this is they talk about the permanent shoring here. So what they said, if the shoring is the permanent shoring, then you have to specify in the BOQ description this shoring will be left over in the site. It will not be removed. The first one here is talk about the temporary shoring. Second one is talk about the permanent shoring. This is talking about how to measure that by unit, item, or whatever it is. Okay. Then this is talk about the description, the design of the shoring. So mostly for me, shoring is covered here. How you going to describe in a bill of quantities? How are you going to build the BOQ description is covered here. But for me, guys, it's not much clear. If you go to NRM, if you look into that NRM 102 item, how to build up a BOQ description, then you will understand NRM is more detailed than for me. So this is the shoring. Then we were searching about the piling. Sorry, I have some problem here. And the piling here. Piling, or they said piling. Okay, for the purpose of measurement is a driven pile. Shall be include timber, precast, concrete, or metal. Guys, this is talking about piling and piling in general. Okay, they say that they talk about generally what are the piles is there, and other piling system shall be measured in accordance with the principle of driven board or whatever it is. Unless otherwise is stated that reinforcement shall be measured in accordance with the section C. What they are telling here, if the pile is consist of the reinforcement that is not measured under the piling item in the bill of quantities, it is measured separately under the concrete reinforcement. If you go to section C, we will see a section separately for the reinforcement measurement. Okay, they said that if there is a pile, concrete pile with the reinforcement, that will be measured separately. That is not included in the pile. But my bill of quantities, I included everything, including reinforcement, concrete, driven, boring, augering, whatever it is, in one pile item. I put one pile, one number, contractor to price it as a one, including boring, testing, piling, reinforcement, sludging, or whatever it is. Everything is included in one item. So what I will do now, I am against this pricing in against the standard now. So what I have to do, I have to go back to the pricing preambles. I have to modify it because they said here your section you have to measure the reinforcement under the section C. In the bill of quantity, you have to put the reinforcement of pile under the section C. Now here, no, I said I'm going to put under the section B only. I'm going to put under the piling. So I will modify my pricing preambles according to this. I'm against this condition. So I'm modifying it in the pricing preambles. I declared that. So guys, this is here they are talking about these driven piles. What they do here, they just bring a pile like this. It can be timber or it can be metal or whatever it is. Okay, they hammer it. They hammer it with the hammer. Okay, then they are driving the pile inside. This is called a driven piles. So that this kind of pile normally they use as a temporary system. Sometime in the oil and gas sectors and some temporary metal piling system, they used to do that. That normally in the building construction perspective, it's not much in use, so we don't need to worry about that. We are no mostly dealing with the bore piling, boring, which is we bore the piling, okay, and the seat piling. Also, we do some seat piling for the shoring system and the testing of piling. Okay, so I think with this we'll stop today, and we will continue with the piling. I mean, not piling, the site work, then excavation, and then concrete block work, and move over most important item only from in the for me. Also, we have to look at to the NRM. Then you need to know because in future, and most of the people are moving to the NRM now. So you must know that how to prepare a bill of quantity description in the NRM point of view. So guys, so we'll stop here today. Let me.